Tina Barrett from Nebraska Farm Business Inc. says ag producers across the state may be thinking about restructuring debt. Tina was part of a panel discussion centered on ag finances at last week's Fremont Corn Expo. She talked with us there and laid out things to think about for farmers and ranchers looking to refinance loans.
So I think we're going to probably see a lot of that discussion, as we start thinking about refinancing some debt, moving debt from that current position, maybe even the intermediate position, getting it on the land, spreading those payments out, really as a working capital free up. So I think we're going to see a lot of that this year. Certainly with interest rates starting to maybe look like they're coming up a little bit, maybe going to make a little bit of a climb. That's not a bad time to do that. Definitely get those rates locked in at a lower rate. But there's also, some downsides to that.
Yeah, lay out the pros and cons for me.
Right. So, so let's start with the pros because that's what we're going to want. So we're certainly going to be looking for freeing up that working capital and getting the operations in a better position. And that's a great choice, right? I mean, it's a good thing we can do. And certainly if you think about operations that maybe bought land with cash or a lot of equipment in the last few years with cash, or just using the operating note because there was room on it, those are definitely the operations that we want to look at, moving that debt down, putting it where it belonged, and getting it right back into a good position. On the flip side, sometimes I consider it kind of like a Band-Aid, where we, if it's a small cut, a Band-Aid's going to help you heal faster. But if we got a cut that has a problem, a Band-Aid's just going to cover it up. It's going to fester and become a bigger issue. And refinancing the debt can be the same thing for an operation. So I think before you do that, you need to understand why you got in the position that you did. So again, like I said, if you did some financing that wasn't the right before, okay, got it. But if we have a family living problem, if we have a operation that's just not making any money, when we do the refinancing, it's going to feel good for a couple of years, and we're going to be right back in the same place, and we'll have eaten up a whole lot of equity that maybe wasn't the best choice for that operation.
You want to explain why you're trying to free up that working capital up front?
Right. So, the working capital, again, is that it's kind of how it feels good. It's that cash flow. So we have plenty of current assets to service the debt that we're going to pay in the next year. And like I said, it just makes you feel good because you've got a little breathing room. You're not up against your operating note all the time. Banker's not breathing down your neck. And so that helps us get through at times when margins are going to be tight. We're not going to be generating a lot of extra cash each year that we're putting back into working capital. So we need to maintain what we've got. And so that's really what we're looking at in that pace.
One of the things that was discussed today was the overall loan structure, how many years you're looking for in the first place. Do you have a general recommendation that you make to producers about what to look for?
I think that it really depends on the operation. It depends on, if they're 25 years old or if they're 55 years old, how long that operation is going to be in existence, how long, we have a history of going for. So, no, I'll really look at that individual operation, that cash flow, see where we need to put that to get the payments where we need them to be.
What about for producers that are looking to have that working capital in case they would make a purchase? Not necessarily that they're going to, but in case they would.
Right. So, that's another strategy that's being kind of thrown around there, not for operations that are in trouble, but for operations that are sitting good, but maybe we can make them a little better. That's going to give up the working capital that we maybe can use as a down payment on land. Maybe can take advantage of some of this cheap equipment that maybe is starting to show up a little bit. And getting in a better position. The only downside to that, that you got to think about is we're definitely locking into a long-term interest situation where we're going to pay more interest than if you were sitting with an operating note that you paid off half the year, and so most of the time you weren't borrowing. So there's some things to weigh there, but definitely as interest rates start to climb, if that starts to happen very quickly, that might be something to think about locking in those rates now because they might not be there when the opportunity to buy the land is.
That might also bring a situation where you have more working capital and you have a little bit of tempting fate there.
That also is a problem because if you've got cash in the bank or you've got, we're not up against that operating note, it's a little easier to go spend on things that you don't need to, whether that's family living or even farm toys that aren't necessary to get the job done.